Hung fell for a palace maid, and everyone in the palace was putting on an act with him. He disguised himself as a eunuch, taking her up to the roof to gaze at the moon at night, and seeking her out during the day to chat and pass the time. At her single mention of missing the kasaya dumplings from her hometown, Hung immediately dispatched people overnight to bring the most famous local chef into the palace. After the Empress Dowager learned of this, she summoned me for a lecture. Between the lines, she was blaming me, the Empress, for being useless. I wasn't angry, only smiled and replied, "The Empress Dowager's methods are superb. Whatever you did to me back then, you need only repeat those same tricks now." The Empress Dowager was so furious she smashed her teacup. "If you had been sensible earlier, would I have needed to go to such great lengths?" I didn't argue back. As I got up to leave, I ran into Hung outside the door. I don't know how long he'd been standing there. I curtsied in greeting, saying nothing. Ever since he stopped believing me, we've had nothing left to say to each other. I heard Hung met that palace maid on his way back to the palace. It was pouring rain that day, and Hung's old ailment flared up. The palace maid thought he was just some little eunuch faint from hunger, so she helped him to the side and shared her pastries with him. Before Hung could thank her, she hurried off. Their next encounter was when the palace maid offended Consort Chen. She was being dragged away by Consort Chen's people when Hung happened upon them. With a single word, he pardoned her offense. Hung even disguised himself as a eunuch to deliver wound medicine and scar removal ointment worth a fortune in gold. Not long after, Consort Chen was punished with confinement. The emperor has fallen for a young palace maid, and everyone in the palace knows about it, except for one person. I found out about this on the day the imperial kitchen sent over kasaya meatballs. Because it was unusual and not to my taste, the palace maid by my side, He, asked one more question. "Gugun, you don't know, this was ordered by the emperor. Everyone in the palace gets some." With more inquiries, I learned the whole story. Apparently, some days ago, the young palace maid was homesick. Hung specially had someone invite a famous chef from her hometown into the palace to make her a dish of kasaya meatballs. The whole palace got some, just so she could have a taste too. He didn't continue, probably afraid I'd be heartbroken, but my tears had dried up long ago. "These kasaya meatballs are really good. I suppose we have her to thank for this." I ate with a smile, gesturing for He to eat together. He sighed, looking at me with sympathy. "Your Majesty, you weren't like this before." "But that was before," I replied indifferently. "Now that noble Consort Chen is confined to her quarters, I can still enjoy delicious kasaya meatballs. Isn't that something to celebrate?" "Your Majesty, you've truly changed," He said helplessly. "I'd actually like to meet that palace maid and see what kind of person could bewitch the emperor like this." I quickly stopped He's words. "This is the palace. Haven't you seen enough cases of walls having ears?" Who knew He's words would prove prophetic? The very next day I met this palace maid. Her name is Zhang Ying. Zhang Ying was born with a delicate beauty, like a small flower on a steep cliff, seemingly unremarkable, yet tenacious and unyielding, already deeply rooted in one's heart. The people who escorted her here said she had snuck into the Imperial Medical Bureau and stolen my medicine. It was medicine for treating my old ailment. I hadn't initially seen through Zhang Ying's identity, not until she saw me. She didn't make excuses, nor did she beg for mercy. I stole the medicine. I have a friend who is very ill. Whenever it rains, his knees ache unbearably. He is just a lowly eunuch. I was afraid his old ailment would flare up while he was on duty, so I stole the medicine. He showed me kindness. If not for him, Zhang Ying would have died long ago. Whatever punishment Your Majesty the Empress decides, Zhang Ying will accept it." She spoke neither humbly nor arrogantly, raising her head to look at me. Her eyes were clear and pure, not tainted in the slightest by the filth within these vermilion walls. With her words having gone this far, I could naturally guess who the friend she spoke of was. "I won't punish you. Stand up," I said softly, not even noticing the smile at the corner of my own lips. Zhang Ying looked at me with half belief and half doubt. "If you don't get up now, I really will punish you." Only then did she stand up nimbly. "What about your friend's injury?" I asked her. "When he first entered the palace, he was punished by a noble consort to kneel. He knelt in the rain for too long, and without medicine at the time. It left him with a chronic condition." Zhang Ying spoke earnestly, and I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Back when Hung sought to marry me as his empress, Father was vehemently opposed. Father believed that Hung was the emperor, while I was just a woman of the Jianggu. The difference in status meant we were destined to have no future together. To show his sincerity, Hung knelt at every step from the foot of the mountain to my master's gate. It was the season of endless rain at that time. I met Zhang Ying's confused gaze. Do you know why I am using these medicines? I broke into prison to rescue someone and ended up covered in wounds. I also have old injuries. When I first met Zhou Heng, he was disguised as a poor scholar on a secret inspection tour while I was just starting out in the Jianggu. I thought he had offended local corrupt officials, so I risked my life to save him. Only later did I learn that he had planned it all along to lure the snake out of its hole. And I was just an accident. After revealing his true identity to me, Zhou Heng wanted to marry me, young and truly in love. I only wished for a love affair. I also believed that what was written in storybooks had come true, that there really would be an emperor who would promise me a lifetime with only one partner. My gaze swept over the surprised expression on Zhang Ying's face. You should go. Remember to take your medicine. Zhang Ying nodded and took the medicine before leaving. He watched her departing figure and said indignantly, Your Majesty, you clearly know this medicine is for, precisely because I know it is for His Majesty that I should grant this favor. This moment is pure comedy gold, wrapped in tragedy. The Emperor is cosplaying as a poor eunuch to flirt with a maid, claiming he has old knee injuries from being punished. In reality, he got those injuries kneeling to beg Xiang Li's father for her hand in marriage. The audacity, and Xiang Li, instead of exploding, she gives the maid the medicine for him. It is the ultimate power move. Oh, you are stealing from me to help my lying husband. Here, take some more. Let's see how long he can keep up this charade. I took over He's words, and withdrew my gaze. Since everyone in the palace knows that Zhang Ying is the person dearest to His Majesty's heart, how could they deliberately make things difficult for her? I didn't even need to investigate. The person was delivered right to me. He's expression changed drastically. This servant was thoughtless. I shook my head with a smile. Back then, I was blinded as the one involved and fell into the trap too. Now, I just don't want to get mixed up in it anymore. Who knew uninvited guests would come one after another? Zhang Ying had just left when Zhou Heng arrived. Counting carefully, it has been more than 3 months since we last met. What did you do to Zhang Ying? Straight to the point, without even using a proper form of address. I bowed to Zhou Heng, lowering my head and eyes. Your Majesty, she just left. The shadow before me didn't leave, so I added, if Your Majesty doesn't believe me, you can ask the palace servants in my quarters. I didn't hurt her, nor did I frighten her. After a long while, Zhou Heng finally left. That night, the Imperial Medical Bureau sent many ointments, which I all gifted to Zhang Ying. Early the next morning, the Empress Dowager sent someone to summon me. I didn't set out immediately, waiting until after lunch to go. When Zhou Heng wanted to make me Empress, the court officials objected, but the Empress Dowager spoke up for me. I originally thought she liked me. It wasn't until Imperial Consort Chen entered the palace that I realized she was just enduring it. She didn't want to create a rift with Zhou Heng because of me. She was waiting for Zhou Heng to tire of me, waiting for me to fall into the trap she'd set. The day Chen Yun entered the palace, the Empress Dowager made me wait outside, wearing down my patience, letting me overhear her conversation with Chen Yuyun. She despised my Jianggu background, saying I lacked the demeanor of a noble lady from an aristocratic family, blamed me for being ignorant, leaving Zhou Heng's harem empty and him without an heir. Naturally, I was unwilling to suffer such grievance, so I left immediately. But Chen Yuyun just had to run into me while I was venting by practicing swordplay. I sheathed my sword, yet she claimed I had injured her. The Empress Dowager rebuked me for constantly wielding weapons, saying I lacked the demeanor of an empress. Zhou Heng looked at me with disappointment and said, Your sword never injures people by mistake. I told you, in this life you are the only one, so why won't you trust me? Why did you harm Yuyun? He was convinced that I saw Chen Yuyun as an enemy. I had no way to defend myself. In my dejection, I caught a flash of joy in the Empress Dowager's eyes. When I came to my senses, the door to the Empress Dowager's main hall was still closed. Since the Empress Dowager is occupied today, then I shall visit another time. The moment I finished speaking, the door opened. The Empress Dowager was seated drinking tea, slamming down her teacup heavily. The Empress's temper is still so impatient. No matter how impatient, I can't compare to Imperial concubine Chen. I threw the words back at the Empress Dowager, but she was too hasty and ended up harming herself instead. The Empress Dowager was quite angered while I walked straight over and sat down beside the seat. I finally understood the thrill the Empress Dowager and Chen Yuyun used to get from provoking me with just a few words. Yu Yun was also thinking of His Majesty, sharing my worries. The dignified son of heaven, constantly pretending a lowly palace maid, is a eunuch, making the entire palace play along with this game of house. What kind of propriety is that? I just smiled without responding. How shameless of you to still be able to smile, the Empress Dowager scolded. As the Empress, managing the inner palace and advising His Majesty is your responsibility. The harem is empty, His Majesty has no heirs, and now he is entangled with a palace maid. This is your failure. I wasn't angry, just found it amusing. If I truly had such methods, I wouldn't have ended up as your defeated opponent, Empress Dowager. Empress Dowager, your methods are superb. Whatever you did to me back then, you need only repeat those same tricks now. The Empress Dowager was furious and grabbed a teacup to throw at me. Porcelain shards and hot tea exploded at my feet, blattering everywhere. If you had been sensible from the start, would I have needed to go through all that trouble? With your lowly status, being Empress is already a blessing earned from your past life. His Majesty rules over the 6 palaces. How could he possibly have only you for his entire life? You can't even manage basic magnanimity. You are not fit to be Empress at all. No matter what she said, my heart remained completely calm. If the Empress Dowager thinks I am unfit, then have His Majesty depose me. I rose, bowed, and left. Do you really think I wouldn't dare? The Empress Dowager's furious voice came from behind me. I didn't look back, but ran into Zhou Heng outside the hall. He must have come to pay respects to the Empress Dowager. No idea how long he'd been standing outside. I couldn't remember how long it had been since I'd seen such an expression on Zhou Heng's face. He looked at me, just as he had when I broke into prison to save him, when I took a blade for him and he held me. His gaze had been just like this, shocked, heartbroken. He wanted to speak, but I didn't want to listen. I silently curtsied and prepared to leave. My hand was grabbed by him, and I was pulled back. What you said to Mother, what was it about? Zhou Heng asked me. It is all in the past. Your Majesty needn't concern yourself with it. Those ointments, why did you give them all to Jiang Ying? He asked again. She is very worried about your Majesty's old knee ailment. It is good for her to have extra on hand. Otherwise, if your Majesty's old illness flares up again, and she has to steal from others, that wouldn't be good. I still wore a smile, but my tone couldn't muster any emotion. Acting, it turns out, is exhausting too. Zhou Heng still wanted to say something more, but I withdrew my hand first and left without looking back. On the way back to the palace, I ran into Jiang Ying. She was on duty at the flower room, holding a pot of orchids in her hands. Your Majesty, the Empress. Seeing me, Jiang Ying broke into a smile, her eyes crinkling. Thank you for the medicine you sent. Your Majesty, I think that should be enough for him to use for a while, as long as it helps him, I replied. Where are these flowers being delivered? For your Majesty, they need to be sent to each palace. I specially picked the best one for you. As Jiang Ying spoke, she waved the orchids in her hands at me. Her smile was more radiant than the flowers. How nice. A figure intruded in my peripheral vision, a flash of bright yellow quite glaring. Jiang Ying and I returned to the palace together. The orchids were placed in the courtyard, and the lanterns nearby caught Jiang Ying's attention. They were made for me by Zhou Heng before last year's lantern festival. He did it for me after mistakenly thinking I intentionally hurt Chen Yu. Zhou Heng knew I didn't want to see him, so he only opened the door halfway to pass the palace lantern in. On the exquisite and ornate palace lantern were his scarred and battered hands. Xiang Li, won't you please forgive me? This year, you wouldn't want me to go see the flower lanterns all alone again, would you? Zhou Heng and I met during the lantern festival. He promised me that every year he would accompany me outside the palace to see the flower lanterns and solve lantern riddles. Last year's lantern festival, I forgave Zhou Heng. The palace lantern was hung in the courtyard by my own hands. But halfway there, we ran into Chen Yuyun. She got separated from her servants and was being dragged into a dark alley by hooligans. It was all too coincidental, but Zhou Heng believed it. He left me behind, leaving me to wait for him on the bustling street. The one who ended up alone became me. Zhou Heng had the hidden guards drive away the hooligans and personally escorted Chen Yuyun back to her residence. As for me, I was escorted back to the palace by the hidden guards. Early the next morning, Zhou Heng came to my palace. Turns out Chen Yuyun's reputation was damaged because of last night's incident, and she was determined to kill herself. To protect her, the Empress Dowager proposed letting Chen Yuyun enter the palace as a consort to quell the scandal. Zhou Heng agreed. He said, Yuyun and I will be married in name only. It is just a temporary measure. Xiang Li, after Yu Yun enters the palace, you must look after her. Your ladyship, this palace lantern is all dusty. Why haven't you wiped it clean? Jiang Ying's voice brought me back to reality. It should be thrown away anyway. Doesn't matter, I replied. This palace lantern is so pretty. Wouldn't it be a shame to throw it away? Jiang Ying looked at me in confusion. Don't like it. If it is thrown away, then it is thrown away. What is there to regret? If you like it, I'll give it to you. I took down the lantern and handed it to Jiang Ying. Suddenly there was a sound from behind. Jiang Ying was so startled she didn't catch it. The palace lantern fell to the ground, the frame scattered, and the painting on the cover got dirty. Compared to Jiang Ying's panic, I actually felt relieved. Forget it. It is good that it is broken. As soon as the words fell, Zhu He hurriedly stepped forward and said, Your Majesty, the Emperor has arrived. Zhou Heng followed me all the way. Perhaps afraid I would hurt Jiang Ying, I deliberately had someone close the door properly to avoid exposing Zhou Heng's lie. Your Majesty need not worry. She only came to deliver flowers as ordered. This consort did nothing to her. I didn't ask about Jiang Ying's matter. Zhou Heng sat down, but seemed somewhat uncomfortable. Xiang Li, how have you been lately? He turned his body toward me, but I also turned away to reach for the teacup. This consort is doing well. As the words fell, everything returned to silence again. After a long while, Zhou Heng finally broke the silence. About the past, I did not know. Yi Yun grew up with me since childhood. I never thought she would deceive me together with Mother Empress. I will investigate this matter thoroughly and clear your name. Zhou Heng reached out his hand, but grasped nothing. Jiang Ying, I only see her as a friend. She is innocent and kind. When I see her, I always think of you. Similar words. This wasn't the first time I'd heard them, nor did I have the patience to keep listening. I heard that when Jiang Ying was falsely accused of theft by the imperial consort, Your Majesty punished the consort before even investigating clearly. The tea's fragrance rose with the steam, filling my face. When I heard Zhou Heng's voice beside me, Jiang Ying is sincere and innocent. How could she steal that golden hairpin? His tone was utterly certain. He had known Jiang Ying for merely 3 months, yet he and I had been husband and wife for 5 years. Between me and Chen Yuyun, he believed the latter. Between Jiang Ying and Chen Yuyun, he believed the former without hesitation. Your Majesty's feelings for Jiang Ying are truly genuine. The hot tea went down my throat, yet I only felt a chill in my heart. Xiang Li, that is not what I meant. Zhou Heng was eager to deny it. I smiled indifferently. This concubine didn't mean anything by it either. Your Majesty is overthinking. Zhou Heng refused to leave. I couldn't be bothered with him, and retreated to the bedchamber to read. Your Highness, His Majesty is repairing that palace lantern. Zhu He informed me, looking troubled. Didn't I tell you all to throw it away? I didn't look up. We were planning to secretly discard it, but His Majesty came out asking for that palace lantern, and specially retrieved it. I sent someone to check just now. His Majesty's hand is injured again. Zhu He responded. If he likes to fix it, let him fix it. Summon the imperial physician to attend to him, lest the injury be blamed on me later. What is done cannot be undone. A palace lantern can be repaired when broken, but feelings leave scars when damaged. I didn't want to face Zhou Heng anymore, so I climbed over the wall and left my palace. I hadn't gone far when I saw 2 sneaky-looking eunuchs. They had someone tied up and were heading toward the well in my palace. Taking a closer look, that person was actually Jiang Ying. When killing with a borrowed knife didn't work, they came to frame me again. I couldn't care about much else and stepped forward to knock out those 2 eunuchs. Your Majesty, Jiang Ying was obviously terrified, tears welling up in her eyes. Shh! I untied the ropes on her hands and feet and took her away. After we had walked far enough, I asked her, what exactly happened just now? Jiang Ying shook her head, beads of sweat covering her forehead. Gugu told me to deliver the remaining orchids to the Empress Dowager's palace, but I was kidnapped halfway there. They gagged my mouth and took palace paths with few people. As she spoke, Jiang Ying began to cry. There is nothing to cry about. This wasn't your fault to begin with. I handed her my handkerchief. From now on, you'll serve in my palace. Jiang Ying took the handkerchief and dropped to her knees with a thud. Your Majesty, the Empress. Thank you. Before she could say anything more, I helped her up. When you see injustice on the road, you draw your sword to help. Children of the Zhenggu should be like this, but I am no longer in the Zhenggu. I have my own plans. I had Zhu He lead Jiang Ying to the flower room, and sent my order to transfer Jiang Ying to my palace. First, to protect her. Second, with Jiang Ying in my palace, Zhou Heng won't come. Xiang Li, I fixed it. As soon as I entered the hall, Zhou Heng stood up and held the repaired palace lantern before my eyes. The palace lantern had been carefully wiped clean, and the loose frame was reassembled. As for the soiled lampshade, Johang had already replaced it. Originally, it was painted with lotus flowers sharing one stem, symbolizing unity of hearts. Now, it was replaced with mandarin ducks playing in water. But if our hearts aren't united, how can we remain husband and wife? It is not the lantern festival now. This palace lantern serves no purpose. Your Majesty need not have fixed it. The imperial physician is in the side hall. Chuhei, summon the imperial physician to apply medicine for His Majesty. I didn't take the palace lantern, letting Johang's hand hang in midair. Just a minor injury. It is nothing. He lowered his eyes, hiding his disappointment. Jiang Ying was nearly thrown into a well and murdered. Does Your Majesty know of this? I asked him. How could this be? Johang frowned. Your concubine doesn't know either. Only that I just encountered 2 eunuchs binding Jiang Ying at a nearby well. Your concubine has already had the palace servants apprehend them, but fearing their identities might be awkward, I am reporting this to Your Majesty. The well is near your concubine's sleeping quarters. I fear this is someone's scheme to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Johang listened to my words, his hand holding the palace lantern unconsciously tightening. Xiang Li, it is good that you are here. He wanted to reach out, but instantly stopped himself. This concubine is worried that Jiang Ying will be harmed again, so I've already transferred her to my side. If Your Majesty truly cares about her, you should give her a proper status. I smiled gently, but Johang across from me froze. Xiang Li, you really don't need to be this sensible. Sensible, Xiang Li. I've always been considerate of you. Can you also think about me for once? Xiang Li, you are too willful. I am very tired. Xiang Li, you are too insensible. The voices from memories intertwined with those by my ear. He was the one who thought I was insensible, and he is also the one telling me I don't need to be sensible. I no longer fooled around and laughed with him like before, keeping my smile as I said, as the Empress, this concubine should act accordingly. On the contrary, Your Majesty's entanglement with a palace maid will inevitably invite gossip. Jiang Ying is naive. If she is deceived for too long, I am afraid she'll be heartbroken. Jiang Ying will come to the palace for duty shortly. If Your Majesty hasn't figured out how to tell her the truth, it is best not to stay long. I bowed to him, but he held me up. Xiang Li, you never used to bow before. I also permitted you not to bow. The heartache in Johang's eyes flowed along with his gaze. Yes, he permitted me not to kneel. He said he genuinely wanted to be husband and wife with me. But we ended up becoming sovereign and subject after all. Rules are rules. This consort does not wish to invite gossip. I pulled my hand back, but Johang refused to leave. Xiang Li, it has been so long since I've tasted your cooking. Johang looked at me innocently. Just then, a boom sounded from outside as lightning struck, casting his face in a ghastly pale light. Heavy rain poured down without warning. Xiang Li, don't chase me away. In the old days, he always liked to put on this act to show weakness and make peace with me. I always remembered the injuries he suffered to win my hand in marriage, and my heart would always soften. Even when he wanted to make Chen Yuyun his consort, I forgave him. Back then, it was also a heavy rain like this, with lightning and thunder. He stood guard outside my chambers for an entire night. When I opened the door, he collapsed into my arms. I asked him why he didn't return to his own chambers. He smiled contentedly. My wife is here. Where else would I go? That day, he said he wanted to eat the pastries I made. I made them. But the pastries that were sent to the imperial study ended up in Chen Yuyun's mouth. I left Chen Yuyun behind, who had come to show off, and rushed to the imperial study. But he scolded me for being inconsiderate. I've eaten those pastries many times, but Yuyun hasn't. I just don't want you two to be at each other's throats in the future, so I am using this to help ease the relationship between you. After all, Mother dotes on Yuyun, and there must be some resolution for how you hurt her before. Thick disdain filled those words. Only then did I understand what it meant that words could hurt more than a sharp sword. That day, the journey from the imperial study back to the bedchamber felt exceptionally long. Just like that year when I waited bitterly for him to come up the mountain at my master's gate. I tried several times to hold an umbrella for him but was stopped by Father. Later, Johang's legs became afflicted, and I resented Father for it too. But Father said, I am just making him remember that marrying you is no easy matter. Only through pain will he learn to cherish. But Father, you were wrong in the end. And I was even more ridiculously wrong. The imperial physician at the side hall came in handy. I am not an imperial physician. I can't treat leg ailments. I only entered the room after the physician finished applying needles and medicine for Johang. You made pastries. Xiang Li, I am hungry. I shook my head. This consort didn't make pastries. If your majesty is hungry, please have a meal. I ordered the palace servants to bring food, catching a glimpse of Zhou Heng's forlorn expression from the corner of my eye. Just then, He hurried in. My lady, Jiang Ying just returned, and seeing the rain, grabbed an umbrella and went out. Should we have someone follow her? I glanced at Zhou Heng, seeing him immediately tense up. Follow her. Just escaped death, and now running out recklessly without regard for her life. Who knows who she is rushing to see? I remarked teasingly, but Zhou Heng had already stood up. She must be worried about my leg condition flaring up. He ignored the imperial physician's advice, put on his clothes and headed out. I blocked his way. Xiang Li, she is waiting for me. She is all alone in the palace. I cannot leave her unattended. I met his determined gaze and suddenly smiled. Your Majesty has misunderstood. I am not trying to stop you. Are you sure you want to go see Jiang Ying like this? I turned to order the palace servants. Why haven't you gone to find a set of clean clothes suitable for His Majesty? When I turned back, I saw Zhou Heng frozen in place, unable to come to his senses for a long time. When Jiang Ying returned, the rain had stopped, and the sky had completely darkened. I was sharing freshly baked pastries with He. Hot and steaming, fragrant and crispy. You've been out so long. Are you hungry? I handed her a pastry. Jiang Ying was startled. Thank you, Your Majesty the Empress. Only then did she remember she hadn't curtsied, and hurriedly bent her knees. He stepped forward to support her. There are no outsiders here. No need to curtsy before Her Majesty. Eat quickly. It won't taste as good once it cools down. I smiled and pushed the rest in front of Jiang Ying. Jiang Ying took a bite, her eyes gradually widening. Delicious, Your Majesty. You are so good to me. They're just a few pastries. Look at you, tears are about to come out. I shook my head with a smile. By the way, keep these pastries for yourself. Don't give them to anyone else. Not even to that friend of yours. Jiang Ying was startled by my serious expression. Why? I told myself I wouldn't make pastries for any man again. I picked up a pastry and put it in my mouth. Since Zhou Heng said he'd had enough, I wouldn't make them for him anymore either. You won't make them even if His Majesty wants to eat them, Jiang Ying asked me. You girl, you really know how to touch a nerve. He hurriedly gave her a look, signaling her to shut up. This servant spoke out of turn. Jiang Ying quickly slapped her own mouth. He, I am not that fragile. I stopped Jiang Ying. He lied and said he wanted to eat them, but in the end he gave the pastries I made to the imperial concubine. Tell me, why should I still make them for him? That night, Zhou Heng didn't come again. I heard he went to noble consort Chen's place and caused quite a scene, even alarming the Empress Dowager. Early the next morning, I was summoned over. Many people were kneeling on the ground, with Chen Yuyun in the most disheveled state. Her face was covered in tear stains, her hair was messy, and most of her hairpins had fallen to the ground. She looked nothing like her usual gentle appearance in public and flamboyant demeanor in private. Looking up, the Empress Dowager on her seat had an ashen face with tightly pressed lips, and when our eyes met, hers were full of resentment. Xiang Li, you are here. Zhou Heng walked over from among the crowd and grasped my hand. His palm was damp with heat, and when it covered mine, it felt scalding. The dark circles under his eyes were prominent, making him look quite haggard. No need for formalities. His tone brooked no refusal, his eyes radiating coldness as they swept across the Empress Dowager's face. Confess honestly to the Empress about what happened last year. As soon as the words fell, Chen Yun's body on the ground trembled violently. Her forehead pressed against the ground, she sobbed. It was all taught to me by my maternal aunt. The Empress did not hurt me at that time. I cut my own arm beforehand to frame the Empress. During the Lantern Festival, too. I knew in advance that Your Majesty and the Empress would go see the lanterns, so I arranged for people to stage an act on the route you must take. But Your Majesty, I did this only because I truly love you. I cannot accept marrying someone else. We grew up together, childhood sweethearts. I ask for nothing else, only to serve by Your Majesty's side. Chen Yuyun raised her head, 2 pools of tears spilling out. She shuffled on her knees toward Zhou Heng's feet. Your Majesty. Zhou Heng retreated in disgust. Drag her away and deal with her according to palace rules. Your Majesty, the imperial concubine's crime does not warrant this. The Empress Dowager stopped him. If Your Majesty does this, it will only chill the hearts of the court officials. Zhou Heng sneered coldly. chill the hearts of the court officials, or chill the hearts of mother and her maternal clan. What is most chilling is that I was actually schemed against by my own birth mother. The Empress Dowager clutched her chest. Unable to refute, Qin Yuyun was dragged away, and the hall fell silent. The Empress Dowager hasn't been feeling well lately, so she is recuperating quietly in the palace. As for the affairs of the inner palace, the Empress will handle them. In just 2 short sentences, he had both confined the Empress Dowager and stripped her of power. When it was done, Zhou Heng took me away. His hand kept holding mine, unwilling to let go. Xiang Li, I was wrong about what happened before. I promise, such things won't happen again. Zhou Heng's words were earnest, just like back then. Back then, when he revealed his identity, I learned I'd been deceived by him for so long and was very angry. He said he would marry me, but I just assumed he was playing around with women everywhere. He chased after me to my sect and made a vow between heaven and earth. I, Zhou Heng, will only take Wen Xiangli as my wife in this life. If I break this vow, may I not die a peaceful death. His voice echoed through the mountains, layer upon layer. I was moved by him and believed he wouldn't betray me. Wandering the Jianggu, promises are held most sacred, but the imperial family is cold-hearted and especially skilled at going back on their word. I pulled my hand back and asked him, "What about Jiang Yang? Jiang Yang and I are just friends. I just missed the time when you and I first met among the common people. You cared about me, made me pastries when I was hungry, and always stood in front of me when there was danger." As Zhou Heng spoke, he gradually became immersed in memories. Back then, you often took me up to the rooftops to admire the moon and watch the stars twinkling across the sky. You didn't understand the constellations and always pestered me to point them out to you. Xiang Li, these past days, I've missed you so much. I also miss who we used to be. A smile gently spread across his brows and eyes, but my heart could no longer stir up any ripples. I smiled too, only stiffly, my face tired from smiling. A eunuch nearby hurried over and spoke into Zhou Heng's ear. I saw the smile fade from Zhou Heng's face. "Xiang Li, I'll come find you later." As Zhou Heng left, Chu He stepped forward from the side and said, "Your Highness, Jiang Ying went out again this morning. Let her be." I didn't care, with Jiang Ying around. It saved me from having to deal with Zhou Heng. But that night, Jiang Ying came to find me in tears. The lamplight reflected 2 tear streaks beneath her eyes. "Your Highness already knew about the matter between the Emperor and this servant, didn't you?" She knelt on the ground, as if curled up into a ball. I wasn't the earliest to know, but by the time I knew, everyone in the palace knew too. I didn't want to deceive her, so I told the truth. "Why did your Highness save me, when clearly Imperial concubine Chen and the Empress Dowager both cannot tolerate me?" She pressed her lips together and squeezed out a bitter smile. "Because this wasn't your fault to begin with. The one at fault is someone else." Jiang Ying frowned, surprised and at a loss. "But, your Highness and Imperial concubine Chen, in the past, clearly. I once couldn't tolerate consort Chen. You think I can't tolerate all the women around Zhou Heng either, right?" I asked her. Jiang Ying nodded timidly. It was just a momentary lapse in judgment. I brushed it off with one sentence, then asked her, "What about you? Do you like the Emperor?" Jiang Ying thought for a moment, then shook her head at me. She met my puzzled gaze and slowly said, "I only see the Emperor as a friend. The Emperor deceived me with the identity of a eunuch. I thought he was also a poor soul trapped in the palace. Tonight I didn't listen to Your Majesty the Empress and gave the pastries to the Emperor, and also told him what Your Majesty said. The Emperor was very angry. He kept saying I deceived him. I could tell that he actually cares a lot about Your Majesty. Your Majesty is my lifesaver. I won't do anything to make Your Majesty sad. After tonight, I finally understand who caused the danger around me." Jiang Ying kowtowed heavily to me. "This servant has no improper thoughts. I only wish to live safely until the age when I can leave the palace." I looked at her, somewhat lost in thought. Jiang Ying seemed naive, but she understood some things more clearly than many others. "What if the Emperor really likes you and wants to keep you in the palace?" Jiang Ying didn't raise her head, her forehead still pressed against the floor tiles. "Then this servant can only beg Your Majesty to save me." Zhou Heng arrived in the middle of the night, completely drunk. He barged into my bedchamber. The palace servants didn't dare to stop him and could only let him in. The strong smell of alcohol made people frown. Opening my eyes, I found Zhou Heng sitting by my bedside. "Xiang Li, why? Why would you make pastries for a mere palace maid, but not for me? You said you would only make pastries for me alone." I looked at him coldly and replied indifferently, "Some words need not be taken seriously. Can we get a round of applause for boundaries? He tried to guilt trip her into cooking for him again, acting all hurt that she fed the maid but not him. But Xiangli hit him with the coldest line. Some words need not be taken seriously. She treated his request with the same flippancy he treated their marriage vows. He gave her pastries to his side piece. Now he gets nothing. Starve, Your Majesty. Your Majesty also said you would take me to the Lantern Festival outside the palace every year, but didn't you fail to do that too? I smiled, as if mentioning nothing more than a joke. My wrist was gripped tightly by him. Xiangli, I didn't break my promise on purpose. It was Mother Empress and Chen Yuyun who schemed against me. The capital's Lantern Festival is bustling and covers a large area. Every road leads to the festival, yet we just happened to run into Chen Yuyun halfway, and coincidentally saw her being held hostage by thugs. Chen Yuyun is, after all, a daughter of a marquis household, an unmarried woman going out alone at night without even guards. Your Majesty doesn't find that strange, but instead feels wronged after being deceived. I refuted him and tried to pry his hand off. No matter how hard I tried, Zhou Heng wouldn't let go. If you truly despise me, then use your sword to cut off my hand, he said in a muffled voice. His eyes flushed red from intoxication. Seeing that I remained silent, he hastily added, Xiangli, I truly know I was wrong. I've punished Chen Yuyun, and I've dealt with Mother Empress too. From now on, no matter what happens, I will stand on your side. Zhou Heng looked at me cautiously. If you are still angry, I'll go stand outside until you calm down. I sighed helplessly. As for Jiang Ying, what are your Majesty's thoughts? A trace of joy flashed across Zhou Heng's face. Xiangli, you have the final say. Jiang Ying's younger siblings at home were still young. Her father had passed away early, and her mother was seriously ill. Every month she would send home the money she had saved, but she entrusted it to the wrong person, and only half the silver actually reached her mother's hands. I had someone calculate the total of her palace stipend, then added 9 times more on top of it. At first, she refused to take it, and only reluctantly accepted after I gave her a direct order. When she left the palace, I made some pastries for her to take along. I didn't trust the court's people, so I asked my martial brothers and sisters to escort Jiang Ying back to her hometown. It was the height of summer, and the sunlight roasted people until they dripped with sweat. Jiang Ying faced me, crying and laughing at the same time, and finally suddenly ran back and hugged me. Sister Xiangli, thank you. I watched the carriage depart into the distance, but when I turned around, I discovered Zhou Heng had come as well. Seeing Jiang Ying leave, he hurried down from the palace gate. The parasol blocked the sunlight, drawing me closer to him. Xiangli, it is scorching out here. Let's go back early. He pulled me along, fingers tightly interlaced, as if afraid I would run away. In the days that followed, Zhou Heng came every day, but I wouldn't let him stay the night. He wasn't annoyed either, only redoubled his kindness toward me, even more so than when I first entered the palace. The Empress Dowager has been confined the whole time, and Zhou Heng shows no sign of relenting. I found time to visit her once. She had aged considerably, but still wouldn't give up trying to get me to talk. Setting this trap for me on purpose. Do you think this will make the Emperor change his mind about you? What are you talking about, Empress Dowager? I've always been innocent and pure. I could never learn all those devious schemes of yours in the palace. I replied to her with a smile, lowering my head to fiddle with the jade bracelet on my wrist. When I entered the palace, I never imagined that one day I would have to learn to scheme against people. I originally didn't know how to manipulate people's hearts either, but we children of the Jinggu have always believed in repaying grudges. Since the Empress Dowager and Chen Yuyun harmed me, naturally, I must pay them back in kind. Only then did I understand. It is not that I couldn't learn to scheme against people. I was just temporarily blinded by love and lost my footing. It wasn't hard to investigate what Chen Yuyun did during last year's Lantern Festival. As for her faking evidence to frame me for hurting her, as long as I made Zhou Heng suspicious about the former, the truth of the latter would naturally come to light. That day I didn't deliberately delay going to see the Empress Dowager. Rather, I had calculated the timing of when Zhou Heng would come to pay his respects. It is quite ironic, when I defended myself to his face, he didn't believe me, but when he eavesdropped on my conversation with the Empress Dowager, he became suspicious. Trust is like porcelain. Once it is cracked, it is nearly impossible to repair. This was true for Zhou Heng and me, and even more so for Zhou Heng and the Empress Dowager. As for Jiang Ying, saving her was indeed an accident. It was also Chen Yuyun and the Empress Dowager who lost their composure, too eager to frame me. So I went along with it, taking the opportunity to deliver the evidence I'd found regarding last year's Lantern Festival incident right to Jo Hung, since he wanted to investigate. He wouldn't suspect evidence that came to him on its own, but the pastry incident was deliberate. Since I am using Jo Hung's guilt, I might as well use it to the fullest. I just never expected that Jiang Ying didn't fall in love with Jo Hung, or perhaps she saw things more clearly than I did. Once you enter the palace gates, it is as deep as the sea, so I might as well help her escape this sea of suffering. Coming out of the Empress Dowager's palace, I found Jo Hung waiting for me. Perhaps afraid I'd mind, he didn't go in to see the Empress Dowager. Seeing me come out, Jo Hung immediately breathed a sigh of relief. "What made you think to visit Mother Empress?" he asked me, his gaze fixed on my face, without moving away. "The Empress Dowager is, after all, your Majesty's birth mother. If your Majesty keeps treating her harshly, word will inevitably spread that your Majesty is unfilial." I responded, avoiding the hand he reached out. "Shang Li, I am very glad you can think of me, but I don't want you to force yourself." Jo Hung concealed his disappointment, staying by my side. "I only hope you'll become the Wen Shang Li you used to be." His tone was gentle yet solemn. "This consort cannot do that." I hesitantly spoke, and sure enough, Jo Hang's smile froze. "I also thought about just being an ordinary couple with your Majesty after entering the palace, but everything that has happened over this past year has proven that what I seek is impossible. Since I am the Empress, how can I act as willfully and recklessly as I did when I roamed the Zhenggu in the past? But I am also an ordinary woman. The grievances I've suffered and the tears I've shed cannot be let go of just because I say so. I still need time to learn how to be a qualified empress." I lowered my eyes and let the tears fall. "Shang Li, it was I who was wrong in the past. It was my fault for not trusting you or protecting you." Jo Hang raised his hand to wipe away my tears, his face full of heartache. "I will wait for you to accept me again." Jo Hang was true to his word. All memorials from the court, asking him to hold a selection of concubines, were rejected, and the admonishments in court were treated as nothing but wind past his ears. He came back to keep me company every day. Just like old times, he'd read storybooks with me, and in his free time, take me out of the palace to have fun. I gradually became more talkative and started cooking for him again. We passed through summer, went through autumn and winter, and it was the Lantern Festival again. Just like the year before last, he made palace lanterns for me. But unlike the year before last, he made 2 for me. Last year you wouldn't talk to me, and we couldn't go to the Lantern Festival either, so this year I am making up for last year's 2. I took the palace lanterns and pulled him to sit down. "You've been working on these for so long, the sweet dumplings and pastries are all cold now. I wasn't hungry just now, but seeing what Shang Li made, I should be hungry, even if I am not." Jo Hang hurriedly scooped up a tang yuan and started eating. But after just a few bites, he suddenly broke into a violent coughing fit. I rushed to pat his back, only to see what he coughed up was blood. "Your Majesty, someone quickly summon the imperial physician." I gave the order, so anxious that I too began to cough. I quickly covered my mouth with a handkerchief, and when I pulled it away, it was stained with a glaring bright red. I tried to hide the handkerchief in a panic, but Jo Hang had already seen it. "Investigate for me who dares to harm me and the Empress." After the imperial physician arrived, he examined both my pulse and Jo Hang's. We were both poisoned. This is a slow-acting poison. Small doses taken regularly are completely undetectable. It can only be diagnosed when the poison takes effect. Immediately, the imperial physician began inspecting every corner of the palace. In the end, they discovered that both the daily food ingredients and medicinal herbs all contained this poison. Investigating further, the trail actually led to the Empress Dowager. When the wall falls, everyone pushes. Aside from the Empress Dowager's personal attendants, the others who carried it out quickly confessed everything. The poison was originally meant for me. These days Jo Hang came every day, and often ate the meals I made, so he was poisoned even more deeply. Besides this, another matter was uncovered. That I hadn't conceived in 5 years of marriage with Jo Hung was also related to the Empress Dowager. Over the years, everything she sent me had contraceptive properties. After hearing this, Jo Hung broke into violent coughing for the rest of her life, without my command. The Empress Dowager is not to leave her chambers even half a step. I comforted Jo Hung. "Your Majesty, all of this arose because of this consort. Rather than punish the palace servants, it would be better to let me leave." I trembled, tears falling onto the back of his hand. He gripped my hand tightly. "Don't say that. Shang Li, I love you because you have never lied to me, and only you have truly cared for me, constant and unwavering." As he spoke, his pent-up emotions overwhelmed him, and he fell unconscious. Zhou Heng fell ill, listless all day long. The imperial physician said the illness had penetrated to his bones, and medicine was ineffective. His energy deteriorated day by day, bedridden and drowsy, and even memorials had to be read to him by me and approved on his behalf. Sometimes he would become delirious with confused memories. He would always talk to me about the past. He said he missed how we used to be. I would always smile quietly without speaking. Until his final moments, he held my hand, trying to squeeze it, but could only hold it weakly. "Xiang Li, can you call me husband one more time?" When I first entered the palace, I always loved to call him that, but he would always refer to himself as Jen in front of me. He wanted us to be sovereign and subject, yet now he wanted to be husband and wife. I smiled and shook my head, asking if he remembered the day he came to my master's gate to ask for my hand in marriage. After he climbed the mountain, the rain stopped, and a rainbow appeared, bathed in the rainbow's light. He swore an oath to heaven and earth. Sunlight fell upon his brows and eyes, glittering like gold. He said, "I, Zhou Heng, will have only Wen Xiangli as my wife in this life. If I break this vow, may I not have a peaceful death." Zhou Heng seemed to remember it all. His pupils contracted sharply. The hand gripping mine instantly released. He said in horror, "You," but his throat was already ruined. His voice sounded more like a gasping sound. When he asked to marry me, I already told him, "We who roam the Jianggu value our oaths above all else. This life means this life." After sending Zhou Heng away, I went to see the Empress Dowager. She looked at me, continuously shouting, "I never harmed the Emperor at all. I only had someone poison your medicine." "It was you. You killed the Emperor." She pointed at me, no longer possessing the dignity of an Empress Dowager. I shook my head with a cold laugh. "The Emperor has passed. With no sons, the dynasty will soon change. Are you sure you still want to dwell on these matters? I think you should be more interested in who becomes the next emperor, shouldn't you? After all, when the Empress Dowager held power, there were quite a few opposing political factions. If I were you, I'd take my own life early to find a decent death, better than continuing like this, neither human nor ghost, without even dignity left." When Zhou Heng was critically ill, he had already chosen a son from the clan. As for who would be regent, he had his candidate long ago. To prevent the Empress Dowager from monopolizing power, after his death, he specially selected ministers who were at odds with the Empress Dowager's maternal clan. To avoid being purged, the only option was to end it herself. His Majesty always had filial piety, and naturally this cannot be discontinued when it comes to me. With that, I set down a cup of poisoned wine. The Empress Dowager had always regarded me as nothing more than a woman from the Jianggu. In her eyes, I was vulgar and of lowly status, but she forgot that before I came down from the mountain, I was also the eldest senior sister whom everyone in my sect admired. When our sect was first established, it was renowned for its skillful use of poisons. Later, our Grandmaster felt that using poison was a despicable thing, so the disciples of our sect stopped using poison, but still had to learn methods of detoxification. As the saying goes, one must never lack a guarded heart against others. Therefore, when I drank that medicinal soup laced with poison, I knew there was poison in it. The Empress Dowager indeed did not harm Zhou Heng. The one who harmed Zhou Heng was me, but the poison was given to me by the Empress Dowager. And here is the mic drop. The Empress Dowager tried to poison Xiang Li, so Xiang Li drank just enough to frame her, while secretly poisoning the Emperor herself. She used their own toxic games against them. The husband who broke his vow not to die a peaceful death is dying exactly as he promised, and his mother is taking the fall for it. It is dark, it is brilliant, and it is the kind of 4D chess only a true queen can play. Checkmate. Royal family. The Empress Dowager had already lost Zhou Heng's trust. I only needed to also take a small amount of poison to completely dispel Zhou Heng's suspicions. Those who harm others will ultimately harm themselves. The Empress Dowager reaped what she sowed. She can't blame anyone else. The day I left the palace, the spring weather was lovely. Not like when I entered the palace, when the rain fell incessantly. I raised my head to let the sunlight fall upon me, breaking free from the vermilion walls. My whole body felt refreshed. On the road back to my sect, I passed by a noodle shop. I happened to be hungry, so I went in and ate 2 bowls of noodles in one go. When paying, I was stopped by a half-grown girl. "Big sister," my sister said she is treating. Following her gaze, I discovered Zhang Ying coming out with steaming hot noodles. Our eyes met, both filled with spreading smiles. Outside the cage, we had our own world. Okay, loves, let's take a deep breath. This story is a masterclass in letting go. Xiangli started as a passionate woman of the Jianggu who believed in one lifetime, one couple. But when the palace crushed that dream, she didn't cling to the pieces. She didn't become the jealous villain everyone expected. Instead, she helped the innocent maid escape, protected herself, and calmly dismantled the people who hurt her. What makes this ending so satisfying is the freedom. She didn't stay to rule as a regent empress or fight for power. She walked out of those vermilion walls into the sunlight, ate a bowl of noodles, and reclaimed her life. She proved that being an empress isn't about the crown. It is about controlling your own destiny. Zhou Heng died regretting everything, realizing too late that the only person who truly loved him was the one he betrayed. And Xiangli, she is just getting started. Now, I need to hear from you in the comments. The maid's exit, are you glad she helped Zhang Ying escape? Or should the maid have suffered for being the other woman? Even if she didn't know. The husband's end, did Zhou Heng deserve to die? Or was he just a weak man manipulated by his mother? The noodle shop, what is your ultimate freedom meal after a breakup? Mine is definitely spicy noodles. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more tea time. Remember, if he breaks his vows, you don't have to keep yours. Love you all.